How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Draft to the Future. I'm one half of the team, Matt. Ryan will also deliver you, or has, depending upon how we schedule it, deliver you our player updates. These are my player updates for week 4 of the college football schedule. Lots of great things to talk about. We're going to get right into it. No highlights because we're trying to crank these out. What I want to start with is someone I'm very excited about. I have Fernando Mendoza as my QB1 entering the draft. I understand Sellers has more potential. I just desperately want Sellers to go back because he needs to develop. And I guess you could infer that that means I don't think Fernando Mendoza needs that development. I don't. Because I think Fernando Mendoza is just a little bit more ready in terms of being on a team running an offense. And when you have as much talent as Sellers has, and again, there's no debate on who is more talented. I don't want that poor young man to be thrown onto a team and said, "Save my franchise," and then he doesn't get he doesn't reach his potential. Becomes there is no development in the NFL. Like you develop through the snaps and either endure the trials of being in a season or not. And I think Fernando's ready, and I think Sellers is already getting the tar beat out of him in college, and the teams aren't winning. And in college, they blame the coaches and the system. In the NFL, they blame the quarterback, and I don't want that to happen to him. Mendoza had an amazing game. 21 of 23 for 200 something yards. So he had 2 incompletions against 5 touchdowns. That's amazing. He had an 81.4 grade for the week, 84 passing grade. He has an 89.3 grade overall and an 89 passing grade overall. This was the game where he sat in the throne of number 1 overall prospect, in my opinion. There are a lot of divided opinions. For me, it's Mendoza, it's Mateer, it's Nuss. If I really had to think about it, I would take a long look at Beck. And there are a lot of things that would have to look good. But if one of them aren't available, I probably don't take a quarterback this year, even though I desperately need one. And that's assuming I hope Levitt goes back, and I'm high on him. I hope Sellers goes back. I'm high on him. I'm positive Manning will maximize his eligibility, and everyone will continue to talk about Manning while he does that. But if Mendoza and Mateer come out, it's them, Nuss, or Beck, and that's assuming a couple things go right there. Otherwise, I'll wait a year because I got one more year where we get 2 picks per round based on the rules that Ryan and I follow. So that's how highly I think of Mendoza, and he could lose his spot on the throne. It's only week 4, but now it's his to lose. Moving on to his teammate, who didn't really light up the stats but played well, Mikhail Kamara. He didn't get a lot of individual things, but if you watch the tape, he was very involved in everything. He had a 69 defensive grade for the week, a 63.1 run defense, a 68.1 pass defense, and even a 60 coverage grade. So 60s across the board. He wasn't really involved in any tackles, so that didn't really work out. He did have 3 hurries, and he was very involved in the overall team success, even though he didn't get any of the team statistical credit. So he's overall 86.7 for overall defense, 79.2 run defense, 77.4 tackling, 83.9 pass rush grade, and a 60.2 coverage grade. So this is a very well-rounded prospect who's doing a lot of what he needs to do. I don't know what round he goes into, but he's doing everything he needs to do on a field to maximize where scouts will have him positioned based on other athletic factors that I don't have data on yet because we haven't gone through the combine. So that's Kamara. Houston didn't play, so I got nothing for Kazoil. Eric O'Neill, the edge rusher for Rutgers, had an okay day. He had 1 hit, 4 tackles, He did have a missed tackle, but Rutgers, they did their job. He had a 62.5 defensive grade, a 63.4 run defense grade, a 50.5 tackling grade, which is not great, a 56.4 pass rushing grade, which is not great, and a 62.2 coverage grade, which is solid. It's average. So he's still kind of in the 70s across the board, which is above average overall according to PFF's grades. So not the day he was hoping for, and kind of a roller coaster season for him overall. But we'll see how he continues to grow throughout the season. I have him at ESPN stats. He's credited with a sack on ESPN, so there's some conflicting data, but hey, I'm just telling you right now, ESPN credited him with a sack and 2 tackles for loss, so that also helps. And if anyone understands why PFF doesn't credit the same thing that ESPN does, let me know in the comments below so I can kind of reconcile that. But as long as I get different data from different sources, I'll extend that to you. So either way, whether the sacks were a reward for someone else playing well, he still did what he needed to do and played at least effectively. So that's it for that. Moving on to my Arizona State folks. I said last week that Sam Leavitt had a good bounce back game, and I acknowledged that it was against Texas State, and let's see how he does. Sam Leavitt is back, folks. Sam Leavitt is back. Does that mean he's back to number 2? Let's see how they do. They got TCU next. That's a big test for me. But they did their job against Baylor, and Sam Leavitt led that game-winning drive. It really was a great job. He had 22 of 32 for 221 yards, 6.9 yards per attempt. It's still kind of short stuff there. 1 touchdown, and then he had another 62 on the ground and another touchdown. So all the potential's there and the talent's there. And again, I don't think he has more potential than Sellers. I do think he has more potential than Mendoza out of the box, but I also want Leavitt, who I love, to go back. If he comes out, if he keeps playing this way, I'll have more and more confidence. So we'll kind of see how that develops, but he's continuing to bounce back from what was the worst game I've ever seen, and he did it against a really tough Baylor team, against head-to-head against a quarterback who also has a lot of heat generating around him in scouting circles. His teammate, Jordan Tyson, he had another drop, but he also is weird. Each game he has 2 drops, and in each game where he had that drop, he was targeted 11 times. So maybe 10 is the limit for him, and I say that kind of jokingly because, he still had 7 catches, 43 yards, 6.1 yards per catch, and 1 TD. He's still done all the things he needs to do. He's playing well. He's gonna go in the first round. He's going to be an amazing athlete. I've kind of ad nauseum went over what I think of him as a player. But if you want a reliable pass catcher who's going to move the chains and score touchdowns, then that's what Jordan Tyson is, and you could do a lot worse. I have him, I think, in my top 5, if not number 6, and I know he'll go in the first round. And my stance on that has more, maybe the testing will reveal data I don't currently have answers to. But if he shows breakaway speed, he'll jump all the way up to number 1 on my board. Although I got Tate and Lemon up there for sure, and a couple others we'll talk about more when we do our next live here in a couple weeks. With Jordan Tyson, he had a 64.6 overall grade and a 65.1. I don't know why he's getting a pass grade there, but he did. But he's done his job in that regard. So I'm very happy with Arizona State as a whole bouncing back. And now that they're getting the Big 12 competition, each game for them is going to be an opportunity for them to say they're still the team we saw last year. Texas Tech looks scary, but let's see how these guys do. Over at Oregon, We got Alex Harkey, who he'd been trending in a direction I didn't like. He didn't bounce all the way back to where he played at Montana State, but he certainly played better. 73.2 overall, 73 run block grade, 80.2 pass blocking grade. So he's still kind of, 70s to 80 pass blocking. He's amazing. So he's still really doing a lot of things correctly. The consensus boards don't like him as much as I do. But hopefully the athletic testing will work out, and his performance as they get into bigger games will help him establish himself more. But this was a great bounce back game for him. He only had one hurry pressure, and that's kind of what I've expected from him, and we'll see if that continues. Mekhi Hughes, what do you have? He had like 6 carries for 30 something yards. Yeah, 6 carries for 33 yards. So I mean, the guy's averaging 5.5 yards a carry, but he's playing along guys who are averaging 7.21 yards a carry. No, that's a real thing. There's a guy here who had a 21-yard carry. It's really kind of unfortunate for him, but he's still maximizing each carry, and I want to acknowledge that. But there's just not much to be able to discuss. Penn State did not play; they were out. Caden Green he was probable and then was just out in Missouri's game, so we're not sure how long he's out. Wish him a speedy recovery, but he didn't get any snaps. I think I'm elevated from cautious to worried about Jake Slaughter. Look, LSU's no joke. Miami's no joke. Okay, let's see how they do. He's still my number one interior lineman. I still believe in him overall. But he's reached this valley, and I hope he's at the bottom of the valley and will resume his path back up to where he needs to be. The line overall needs help, and when you face LSU and then Miami, like your scores are gonna go down. You're talking about two of the better defenses, if not the best defense in LSU. So it against the best, he's a little below average, and I would have thought that opportunity he would have done more. And he kind of missed that shot, but he's got the rest of the season to kind of change that. Terry Moore is still out for Duke. Chandler Rivers did play. So for this game, he had a 68.5 overall defensive grade, 60.7 run defense, 62.4 tackling. So overall, it was just literally an average night, kind of approaching on above average for him. But I'll say this: he allowed 4 catches this week. So that's unlike him. I don't have a lot of data on NC State, so maybe NC State's just kind of a solid team. But it's unusual to see him kind of get targeted. He got targeted 6 times, so it's a little unusual to see kind of where that falls out. But even like for him, that's a bad game. And when your bad game is still kind of a quiet one, and oh, by the way, still no touchdowns allowed. So it wasn't his best game, but his worst game was still a pretty good game. And I still have him in my top 5 for corners. I'm cooling off on that first round grade, but I'd still be delighted to see him in the second round. And if he's there in the third and I get him as a nickel, I'm going to dance to the podium, metaphorically speaking. And then last guy I have right now, because of off weeks and injuries, I got LSU's Harold Perkins Jr. So his coverage grades are kind of dragging him down, and believe it or not, his pass rush grades are kind of starting to suffer. So this week he had a 67.4 defensive grade, 64.4 run defense, 76.5 tackling, and this week no missed tackles. So he's really, really kind of coming along there. But his pass rush grades are below average, and his coverage grades. So this week, 66.8 wasn't as bad as last week. But there are some holes in his game. I still think he's a first round guy. I still think he's a first round talent. I still think he's doing really well. But he's going to get opportunities. And I just kind of think where he's going to shine is in that area of, you know, when they're facing mobile quarterbacks, say hi to my dog. When they're facing mobile quarterbacks, he's going to step up and kind of shut them down. So this was kind of a ho hum night for him, but still an overall solid night. But now as they get into SEC competition, he can have more of a chance to shine, and I think he'll take advantage of it. So like the data's not like leaping out of the off the pages, but he hasn't really done anything to like lower his status either. So that's kind of a wrap. Hope you've enjoyed. Please keep tuning in, and we will keep updating you. Literally, we just had our most recent live broadcast where we talked about our shadow teams, and we'll be back in a few weeks to talk about what college players are standing up and kind of start like looking at them overall. And we hope you'll tune in for that. So God bless. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you around and hope to see you soon.